What's up, y'all, and welcome to the Jack Vita and Stephenie LaGrossa Kendrick show. That's right, we're co-hosts now.
Hello. Traitors talk. Here we go.
Traitors, episode 4. Wow. Oh my gosh. So, like we said in our last episode, we just watched episode 4 in between the taping of these episodes, and now it is really getting good. This is getting exciting.
Really good. Really good. Um, so we watched the screener. It has not aired
Yes.
yet. So my
It
kids
has
have
not
not
aired.
seen. My kids are like, "Can we watch 4?" I'm like, "It's not out yet. This Thursday." Um, I can't believe they have to murder somebody in plain sight and they are able to pull it off and nobody sees anything, including the other two traitors. I mean, I would be watching Parvati like a hawk if I'm Dan and Phaedra. Isn't Dan in the room when this happens? How does he not see? Are they all drunk? That's what I'm talking about. They get way more alcohol on this episode, on this season, than we got. Don't you feel like they all look a little like loose and like
Yes, very
they're
much
feeling
so.
it? Like they're a little tipsy?
I gotta
Especially
ask you about
Ekin-Su?
that. We didn't talk about that last week. What was the alcohol rules for
So
your season?
on our season, they didn't give us alcohol until after the round table. And basically our night was over. We were getting ready to go to bed, and then the traders were getting ready to do their thing. So like half the time they gave us, and it was only one or two drinks max, and it was beer or wine. Um, and it was no liquor. And that was it. And sometimes they would like unmic us, and that was like we were done for the night. And you take your drink to your room and finish it. It seems like when they introduced them to Alan, they had alcohol. Throughout the day in the castle, they're drinking alcohol. I mean, unless these are all like fake drinks and they're just in cups and they look like they're drinking. And then the murder in plain sight, Parvati is literally walking around with like multiple glasses trying to like give people drinks. And she's going to different rooms like, anybody need a drink? I could have got my hands on that much alcohol if I tried, you know? Um, we happen to have a housewife on our season who was like, definitely wanted her booze. And we also had Kate that was like, where's my martini? So maybe that was the reason. But uh, yeah, Parvati walks around and then she literally is drinking out of her own cup and gets somebody else to drink with COVID and everything else going around. She gets Ekin-Su to drink from her cup while she's eating a cookie. They had to be drunk. I think they were drunk. I 100%. And Dan doesn't even see her do it.
Ekin-Su looked drunk for sure.
Definitely. She's like MFing people and she's saying like she's gonna F these MFers up when she finds out. And then they're pinky swearing and I loving each other and all this. And then Parvati's like, have a sip. Just have a sip. No, you're good. Yeah. Just have a sip. I'm like, oh my God.
Well done, Parvati. Good job. Pulled it off.
Actually,
High
I thought
pressure
it was
too.
well done. High pressure. She would have been so obvious with anybody else. So at that point, you're either not murdering anyone because time's running out, or you're just going to get the person that's the easiest. And that's what she did. So I think Parvati did a really good job. Channeling my inner Parvati with my headband, by the way. See this? Notice? No, I have them too. I just have my survivor hair today, so I had to put it in. But anyway, go ahead.
I think it's kind of like it was interesting in the first episode. They bring Parvati in. It kind of feels like a little bit like a fraternity, like getting a bid. Like I didn't join a fraternity. I did get some
Right.
offers to join a fraternity. It's always kind of like a weird sort of like dark room type thing. And we want
Yeah.
you to join our club. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it was kind of like that. And now it's
Yeah.
like, this is the hazing. It's like, okay, Parvati, you have to prove your worth. You're going to be the one
Yeah.
doing this stuff.
Yeah. And no, it's exactly what it's like. And then she does it, and Phaedra is like pissed. So I kind of understand what Phaedra's saying, but it also can look like, I mean, if Phaedra voted for her at the round table, then obviously Phaedra couldn't be a traitor because Phaedra would know who the traitors were. So if she thought Ekin-Su was a traitor and voted for her to banish her, that makes no sense. Do you see what I'm saying? So actually, it would take the blame off of Phaedra. Am I wrong? That's how I would
No.
look at it.
Yeah. And we'll
If they've been
we'll
trying to
come back.
banish somebody, that makes no sense. So she's really only mad at Parvati. Well, then Parvati starts throwing the housewives under the bus, and that's the whole thing too. So then that's
We'll
like
come
the
back to
double.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
there's so much to
Okay.
break down here. So we'll start with this murder in plain sight. And the alcohol thing is
Okay.
interesting because I wonder why they're getting more alcohol. I wonder if it was a pot sweetener to get more of these celebrities, or if it's something like, hey, you know what? People are drinking, makes more drama, makes more good TV. You get these housewives, the drinks are flowing.
Yeah, and maybe they could be more trusted with alcohol. Maybe we couldn't be as trusted. So maybe they know who their audience is right there with the alcohol. But yeah, it's definitely going to make things way more dramatic. Like our season would have been way more dramatic if they gave us like one or two more drinks. Forget it. It would have been a bloodbath.
You mentioned the booze they got at the start in the first episode. Something that we're going to give Johnny Bananas flowers, I feel like, at the start of every single one of these podcasts that we do, even though he's not. Johnny Bananas lives. He's alive. Johnny Bananas is known for giving great toasts. That's like
Yeah.
his thing on the challenge. He always gives a toast at the start of the season. He's got a good toast. The Ringer, which is Bill Simmons' podcast network, they've had parties where Johnny Bananas will give a toast to the, like when they have a work party, like he's there. He has a podcast on the Ringer. I think he just had Suri on. So I thought that was funny. It's like, of course, Bananas is giving the toast.
Of
This
course.
is how it's got to be. Yeah.
Of course. That's so great. We should have him on here once a month.
Yes.
And we should drink alcohol and he can give the toast. Done. Bananas, let us know when you're available.
Bananas, come on, anytime. You're welcome anytime. We're Italian too.
You know what? Yeah, I grew up Italian Catholic family. He had 4 older brothers. We would get along well. Yes, we would.
He fit it right in.
right in with the LaGrossas. Oh my god, and the Vitas, so funny. Well, I don't know. She finds her target. Ekin-Su already seems like a little tipsy. She tells her to drink her drink. Ekin-Su drinks it, and then she chokes. And I'm like, holy crap, is she really going to be poisoned right there? It was like the perfect, and that was not acting. So I was like, that couldn't have been more perfect. Do you see her? She like laughs, and she's like,
yes.
And I'm like, oh my god. And then everybody comes to breakfast. Nobody's murdered. And after she just told Phaedra and Dan that's who she chose, because Dan is in the room and doesn't even see it, which I still don't understand how Dan didn't see it. He must have been talking to somebody or something. And Janelle, I thought Janelle saw it because Janelle was like the only one like being serious and not drunk, but she had her wine, but she was still kind of scanning the room. And then Alan comes in and explains that someone's going to die during the day. I'm like, how the hell? So dramatic. I'm like, how is this going to happen? And then the funeral, and they all look absolutely beautiful. I'm like, that's another thing. What are they dressing them? We wore our own clothes. We had little wardrobe help.
I think they are dressing them because, like, in one of those challenges, they all had matching flannels. Like, there's no way.
We had that too. Like, one of the challenges, we were like, one was in green sweats, one was in blue sweats. The one where we lit the fire thing. But that was like crappy clothes. This is like beautiful funeral with like the bird cage.
Season 2, they got a bigger budget. They can spend on more celebrities.
They might have hair and makeup. Like we didn't have hair and makeup. We have any of that. They look way too good. Something's going on there.
So Parvati ends up getting Ekin-Su, and this looks like this was, again, we gotta give Parvati a lot of props here. Under a lot of pressure, she kept her cool. She pulled this thing off, and
she really did.
Yeah, really. And the thing that I think would have been interesting, I would have loved to know what happens if they can't pull this off, because they had so much urgency. I would have been really interested if there was some kind of stakes, and maybe there were, and we just don't know. But if it's like, you guys cannot vote in the next round table, or you guys can't murder someone in the next round if you aren't able to pull this off. Because like, seriously, why don't they just say, you know what, this is too risky, we're not going to do this? Like, there's got to be some reason that they were forced to do it.
So I think they have a little leadway because Alan at some point during this episode says, and now with Deontay, I forget how he says it. Deontay has removed himself from the game, or with Deontay out of the game, the traitors now must murder somebody in plain sight. So I think it's like they either get it by the time the clock strikes 12, or they've lost their chance to murder somebody, but Deontay's already gone anyway.
Mm.
So from a numbers standpoint and how the game has to play out per day, per murders, blah, 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 and round tables, banishments, I think they would have been okay. This is just, I don't think there was a penalty, is my point.
Yeah.
They would have said if there was a penalty, or they were that confident and then they knew they were going to do it.
So, okay. Yeah, it seems that way. Are we saying that Deontay?
I was like, where'd Deontay go? Because I already saw him starting to lose his cool. Like, he was already seemed like a little bit of a loose cannon. He was crying with the second. I gather he must have had a rough life somewhere along the line. People blamed him for something he didn't do. And he took it really hard after he blamed Max, and he was leading the charge on that. And it wasn't Max. And Max kept trying to tell them I'm the faithful. Because he says, which was a really touching, heartfelt moment. Like, my kids were really like, oh, no. Yeah, my kids did watch. I was in episode 3. He was like crying. My kids felt so bad. And I was like, see, you guys, like, that's somebody that probably was blamed for a lot of things in his life that he was actually innocent and didn't do. And now he just blamed somebody and the guy was innocent. And he feels for him. So if I had to guess, I think he had a mental breakdown and removed himself from the show, which is really sad.
So it is sad. Did anyone on your season, like, or did you ever feel that much, or at least an immense amount of guilt? Because I mean, it clearly looked like there was some sort of guilt. He was in his own head after that thing.
He had tremendous
did you or anybody
guilt.
else? Did you or anybody else have something like that?
You do. You not to the point of that, because that's what I was trying to say earlier when we filmed, with the first 3 episodes, we were talking about that. At the end of the day, as bad as you feel, blaming someone and then they're not a traitor, or cutting someone's throat after you said you won't, like I did to Judd, or whatever I did in Survivor. It, at the end of the day, is a game. And a lot of times you don't even want to do it. You're just going with the numbers because you don't want to, because it's a game, and that's what these games are when you get into alliances and strategy and numbers games. So yeah, people felt bad. I felt bad, when we got rid of Michael. We knew, I actually didn't even go with that vote. I didn't do it because I knew he wasn't a traitor, but everybody else, and some people just went, and I knew Michael wasn't a traitor. He's just a nervous guy. He's another one. He had a tough upbringing. He has some traumatic things happen in his life, and he has anxiety, and that's just how he is. So in a game like this, you walk around looking anxious. You might be suspicious. You might be the traitor. Michael's not the traitor. We knew he wasn't a traitor. So people felt really bad, and Deontay felt really bad. He led the charge on Max, but also he had, I think, a personal experience probably back in his childhood that, he maybe brushed under the rug for many years, and that brought up those feelings again. And it appears, I don't know what happened. I'm speculating. It appears he removed himself from the game, from what Alan said. We'll have to look back and get the exact verbiage, but he said now that Deontay removed from the game is what he said.
So basically, he was the Amanda of this season. I'm just kidding.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess.
We love Amanda. We're just giving Amanda a hard time.
Yeah, listen, she's
Amanda
another one.
Want to leave.
Amanda, because she had COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, that's different. Amanda should have never left. No, he left. I think he chose to leave, Deontay. But oh yeah, poor Amanda. Wow, she would have been on it, man. She would have figured those traitors out and not be afraid to say it. 5 seconds.
Amanda's great, and she told her whole story here on this show. So if you guys are interested, go back and check that out.
Oh, you mean like she had a traumatic? Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
just like that.
No, I meant in terms of like Alan just said she's no longer here. We don't.
Yeah,
really
it was kind of like that. Like you didn't explain it exactly. Yeah,
and in that situation, Amanda wanted to stay on the Traitor. She got COVID from, that's a whole. We don't have time to open up that.
Actually, and early on, one day, what's the blonde housewife? Kind of looks like Kate. What's her name?
Tamara.
Tamara was missing, and he says Tamara's not here today. She's a little under the weather. Did you catch that? And I was like, what the hell? if we were under the weather, whether you were off the show, because they COVID tested every other day. I'm like, can we stop with the COVID testing because someone's going to come up positive, and they did. A lot of people. Hence, I had freaking COVID and couldn't go home I was stuck in Scotland an extra week at the end of the show. But she was under the weather and wasn't there for one of the challenges. He did say that too.
And the shots of you when they would show like you as like Stephenie, and it'd be like a shot of whatever they had you doing. You had COVID in those shots too, right?
I started feeling ill, yeah. And I was like, had a headache. I didn't have a fever though. I had a headache the whole time because you have like such anxiety because all you do is think. And when I get like stressed out, I don't eat a lot. So I couldn't eat, and the food wasn't great. And I just like, my head is killing me. I didn't know because I wasn't eating enough and you're not getting any sleep. As much as they're like, oh, I slept great tonight. You're not freaking sleeping. I'm like this with my notebook every night. I'm like, all right, this one said this and this one did that. I ain't sleeping. Get the hell out of here. But yes.
I know you aren't sleeping. That's for sure.
At the end of the show, man, I was like, I totally had COVID. Like the day I got murdered, I was full blown COVID. I didn't know it. And they tested me to get on my flight home. And they're like, you've COVID. I'm like, you don't say. After already getting vaccinated for the show, I still got freaking COVID. That's a story for another time.
So I think it would have been interesting if they had, because they brought all the traitors into breakfast together. Before,
yeah, so they could have a chance to talk. Yeah,
it would have been interesting if they did legitimately reacted while everybody else did. If they didn't have that moment.
Parvati looked so obvious. Like when they all came in and when Ekin-Su came in, Parvati was like, I'm like, is she really making that face right now? Because if I'm sitting at that table, I'm looking at her saying, why is she making that face? Or I'm remembering that now once Ekin-Su gets murdered in plain sight at the whatever, which we're going to talk about. Now I'm thinking back and I'm like, oh, Parvati looked totally obvious. Like, why did she walk into breakfast? And then they start talking about, did anybody get a drink? Was anybody given a drink? Or did anybody eat anything? How did Janelle not see Parvati right there, give her that cup and say, no, you can have it? And then why did Ekin-Su not say all day long she had a chance to call Parvati out and say, you know what? Maybe she was drunk. She could have said, I was drinking wine, but Parvati came over to me and I actually drank from her cup at one point. And she said, no, you can have it. It's kind of weird. And it wasn't a glass like all the other glasses. It was a nasty old looking chalice that was like gross.
I would love to know, because to us, the viewers, it looks super obvious of all the different times that Parvati's trying to give out drinks. Right. I'd love to know, is this something where like CT sometimes bartends and he says, hey, here, have a cold one. I'm throwing this over to you. And if a lot of that goes on and that throws people off.
Or maybe they did start to figure it out and they don't show any of it right now. And we're going to start seeing episode 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, you know, it's coming. They're going to get a traitor soon.
Yeah.
It looks like
so good.
Dan and Parv are trying to throw Phaedra under the bus to keep, their asses clean. But I don't know.
This is getting so interesting with the internal warfare among the traitors. You've got Dan pulls Parvati aside and starts to say, like, all right, we got to team up. We need her out. We need, like, they don't say we need her out, but he's basically saying when the time comes, we're going to have to cut her throat because, and let's team up together here. And I think part of it,
And he's saying we got to give them a little blood. Like, we got to give them something. So it's kind of like and Phaedra's now she's really getting pissed because she's like, you're trying to throw me under the bus. I know exactly what you're doing.
She sees it.
Yeah. And she's like, she flat out tells him, do not play the game that way. I'm playing very fair. Do not do that to me. She calls him out. So it's interesting.
Leading up to that.
She is in with those housewives, but she don't have the numbers. The gamers have the numbers.
Well, this is what I think is interesting. I wanted to ask you about this because I felt like this was a pivotal episode. From so far, it seems that way. This was a big power struggle. And Sandra's she's playing both sides. This is what Sandra does so well. Sandra's
smart.
she never has a target on her, and she always, that's her whole
Smart.
mantra, as long as it's not me. And she was in a position here where it looked like they made it look like she shifted that vote. She let them know they're coming after CT. And then some of them ended up voting for Kevin too. It was weird because the
Yeah.
housewives kind of
Yeah.
split up their vote. They didn't all vote
Mm-hmm.
together, which is
Mm.
they don't have
Stupid.
that,
That
they
was
don't have the
stupid.
competition experience though. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't. And Sandra does. And Sandra, this was Sandra's episode because this is where she shines. You
This was
know,
the
she
Sandra
plays it
episode.
cool. It was. She plays it cool with everybody, and she's well liked. And she is a pretty honest person until she doesn't need to be. But she wants CT around. She let them know it's going to be you or you. Go with the vote. Make sure it's Larsa. We got to break them up. And they, not knowing how to play the game with the numbers, should have stuck together because they probably could have gotten Kevin instead of Larsa if they were smart.
Well, this felt to me very much like, this is what I was wanting to ask you about, is how much at this point of the game is it just about having your numbers and not even being too concerned about who's a traitor and who isn't a traitor? It's like, we have
So
to be able
important.
to get ourselves to the end, and then we'll figure out, there's got to be someone within this gamers group. We'll take care of that later type of
Yes,
thing.
there's going to start to be cracks. Keep your numbers solid right now. And then
Yeah.
you're going to, I mean, it's obvious there's probably a big brother, or there's got to be a big brother person, or probably like a survivor that's a traitor. It's not those. Okay. There's definitely a housewives. So now you're taking your shot. I mean, if they're smart, they probably should have made like a Peter that no one would ever suspect him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's my problem with the traitors. I don't think they should pick at all. I think in front of people, they should pick a name out of a big like turning wheel and read it on a piece of paper. And it should be one name, one piece of paper's in there for each name, and it should be by chance. It could be three girls, it could be three guys, it could be three they, whatever it is. It could be white, Indian, any color, because that's what it started coming down to. In the first season, we were like, all right, there's got to be a celebrity, there's got to be a person of color, there's got to be a male, there's got to be a this, because you're trying to figure it out. If it's up for chance and the producers don't decide, there's none of that. They need to take that away. They need to stop handpicking the traitors.
Very interesting. Yeah, I would like to
Mm-hmm.
see that. Maybe we see that on season 3. So it
Yeah.
looks like we've got these two voting factions, and there's the gamers and there's the housewives. So the gamers is the group is CT, Dan, Trishelle, Sandra, Parvati, Janelle. That looks like that's kind of the core of that group. The other
Mm-hmm.
group is the housewives. It's Larsa, it's Tamra, it's Phaedra. There's MJ in there. There are probably a couple other ones that I can't remember the names of everybody because I have not seen their shows. And then I get the sense that some of the people like Peter and Kevin and gosh, who else? There are a few of them that are somewhere in the middle of the pack there.
They're like the swing votes, yeah. Like you
Yeah.
can pull them either way. But if you look at that, if you look at the gamers versus like the housewives, I mean, they're completely outnumbered. Part of the reason with the gamers, I guess, even though, what's the name? She tells her no one likes her. Maybe she just means the housewives don't like her.
Yeah.
Phaedra.
I think that this is where you got to, regardless of which side you're on, you have to just keep your numbers intact. So if you this is a move where it's like Larsa is going to threaten my game because she's going to try to target me, even
Right.
though I know that Larsa is not a traitor. Like at this point, I don't think these votes are super all about, we have to get a traitor out right now. We can take care of that later because they're going to be able to reload the traitors anywhere. So if you get a traitor out and that traitor is someone who's a number for you, like this is where I think the numbers game is really coming into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And CT said it best. He's like, listen, whether I think you're a traitor or not, you're coming after me and I got to defend myself. So.
Yeah. And you guys did that too, because there were like a couple different groups on your season, right?
Yeah, there were, but people flip flopped. But basically, it was a numbers game, and we tried to keep our numbers together. And I mean, that's what helped Rachel and I with 3, because we were a 3-person alliance that people didn't even know about, really. And that's where it was hard for like Kyle Cook even though I was with him and he was with Ryan. But everybody wanted to break up that Bravo alliance, and there were only
Yeah.
4 of them, and went Reza, then went one by one. They all went. So,
And you
you
sort of
know,
did that too, though, right? Like you thought Suri was a traitor, but you saw the value in keeping Suri in the game.
100%. Like I pretty much knew she was a traitor from the beginning. It had to be one of us, and I knew it wasn't me, and I knew it wasn't Rachel. So, but I was like, listen, if I keep her safe from my side of things, which I did do a few times, she'll keep me safe in there. And she did until Christian wanted me and Ari wanted me. And then she was outnumbered. Like it didn't matter, but I still think she could have, put up a bigger fight for me.
Episode 4, I think this was the strongest episode yet. It keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see episode 5. How about the challenge on this one? This is my favorite challenge so far on this season because I loved how there was very much a social component to it. There was a lot of, who do you think got murdered? And, there's a lot of chances for them to kind of talk and strategize within the challenge.
Well, and that's why the entire time I don't understand why Ekin-Su is not saying, she does say a couple times, it's me, it's me. I know it's me. I got poisoned. But like she doesn't go to Parvati and say, I drank from your wine. Like you made me. Like if I was Parvati, I would be crapping my pants. Like I did that. People were right there. They could have easily seen it. And she knows I did it. Why is she not saying anything? So unless that's really good editing, which it could be, I can't believe she didn't like call Parvati out. At least if you think you're going down, you're going down, go down with a fight, plant the seed now. You know what I mean? Like if I'm the one murdered, it's Parvati because I drank out of her cup. Say something. She said nothing. So
Yeah,
it was interesting.
very
And it was
odd.
a funeral, and they have to walk to the burial plot. And then my guy Fergus, you see my guy Fergus digging the grave and then putting the dirt
Fergie.
on top. Fergus. Fergus.
Oh, yes, Fergus.
Fergus.
Yeah, Fergus. Oh my gosh.
My guy
Legend.
Fergus. Yeah, he's a legend. I thought we're good. We're friends on Instagram. I talk to him a lot. My
Oh
kids
my
love him.
gosh.
The grave digger.
We'll have to have him on the podcast sometime.
We get Fergus on, yeah. Yeah, then there's the Fergie. How come nobody talks about this Fergie kid? Where's he from? Love
Bergie,
Island?
yeah.
Oh,
Love
Bergie.
Island. Bergie, yeah.
Him and Ekin-Su are both from Love Island. I mean, his time to shine was the light challenge. We never even talked about that. He figured out the light. So
couple
funny.
I love this challenge though. I mean, it was a little creepy, but this is the stuff I really am enjoying about the Traitors, and we saw a lot of it in season 1. Like season 1, really enjoyed it. It was very good. But we talked a little bit after. We talked about some ways they could improve it, and we're seeing a lot of improvements. But one of the things I love is how detailed it is and how much they're going into, how like dramatic this funeral is. You have a whole funeral.
Oh my gosh.
They're singing a
the
song
Black
about
Horses.
Johnny Bananas.
Like, that was hysterical, the Johnny Bananas song.
CT has the quote where he's like, he deserved to die.
Right? And then he's like, first time he's ever did anything for me in my whole life. Guy's never done anything for me. That was so funny. But the beautiful black horses and the carriage and really, really, really well done. Really.
Amazing production quality. Amazing.
Yes.
And
yes.
Another great line, I wrote this down from the challenge. I think the thing that may have cracked me up the most from this episode, and there were a lot of funny moments in it, was when Sandra says, I can't believe Larsa and I are the same age. I thought she was 10 to 12 years older than me.
That's hysterical. That was freaking hysterical. I was like, Sandra, you are hysterical. I mean, she could have said, I thought she was a couple years. So she says 10 to 12, which is even funnier. It's like, what, Lars is in her 60s, like late 60s? I can't. That was so freaking funny. She's funny. Sandra's funny. And Janelle's got a couple of one-liners. Like, she's like, in her confessionals, she's like killing it. She says some funny things too.
Anything else to note from this episode? I mean, we'll talk a little more about the Phaedra Parvati stuff here in a second, but is there anything else that we skipped in the challenge or anything? Funny moments or no?
No,
okay.
Just what? And Parvati does a good job acting, I will say.
Yeah, she does. She faked him out. Again, we didn't see anybody. We didn't see anybody say, yeah, I thought Parvati was acting a little weird, like she gave it away. Like, and who knows? Maybe someone did. Like, I mean, you said that.
Right.
about
Yeah.
Cody in episode 1, and they didn't show it,
Yeah,
so there
they
might be a little
never
more.
showed it. But she does a good job. I mean, just the way she buddied up with that Ekin-Su and had her drink from her cup. I mean, she did such a good job. I'm like, oh God, I could totally see this. It was like
And
so over the top fake, and it was so good.
and she was like, I mean, that was the Ekin-Su thing. Going back to that, she just had to get somebody, and she saw Ekin-Su was
Yeah,
in the crosshairs, and
yeah.
she got her. That was it.
And that being said, I think if you're ready to talk about Phaedra, I think
Yeah,
that's good leadway. Phaedra's like pissed. And if I was Parvati, and maybe she did say something, but it from the edit, it looked like Phaedra just told her off basically, and she didn't say anything in return, which I'm sure Parvati did. But I would have been like, listen, I didn't see you taking the lead to do this
right.
the thing with the cup with the challenge. Like it was not easy. We were running out of time. Everybody was right there. So it was either we get someone or we were gonna get no one. And then back to the whole Phaedra thing, it makes her look suspicious. I would have been like, no, it actually does the opposite. Because if you're banishing someone, then obviously you think they're a traitor, which means you can't be a traitor because you know who the traitors are. So that makes no sense. So, I mean, unless I'm the idiot here, I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, I think 100%, first and foremost, like we're saying, Parvati should get the most amount of say because she's the one who's willing to put her neck out there. So if she ends up
Right.
having to give the cup to somebody who was not on anybody's radar, or maybe is a alliance member of someone who Dan or Phaedra is close with, like she's the one who's taking the risk here. She should have that power. And like and I'd love to know why she kind of took it on.
I think
It did feel a little, yeah.
they told her she was taking it
Yeah.
on.
It's like
But did
you're the pledge. You got to do it.
I, right, but at the previous roundtable, did Phaedra vote for Ekin-Su to be banished?
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
So
So then,
she didn't want, she
so
was saying, because I voted for Ekin-Su, it's going to look like I am a traitor because I
no,
voted for her. Yeah.
no, because if you're a traitor, you know who the traitors are.
I don't know.
So
Like, I think that's
you
just
wouldn't
kind of like,
you wouldn't be trying to banish a traitor. You'd be trying to banish a faithful. So I guess she's saying it from that respect.
no, yeah, she's saying that it's going to look like, so Ekin-Su got a vote from me, and then Ekin-Su got murdered. So it looks like I'm targeting her, and I'm a traitor.
Right.
But it
Right.
also, I think part of the thing is when you're in this position, like you were on Stake in the Grass, you probably have an increased amount of like paranoia where people might not
Yes.
be reading that much into little things, but you certainly are.
Yeah, but Ekin-Su's gone now and didn't call anybody out. And Phaedra has no heat on her at all, except for
Yeah.
now Parvati calls out the housewives and says, I
So,
think one of the housewives is definitely a traitor. So now Phaedra 100% has, I mean, she has every right to defend herself. You know what I mean?
Dan feels like he got everything he wanted out of picking Parvati because Parvati is going out and she's doing the murder in plain sight, and then she agrees to kind of be the one who's gonna go out there and call out the housewives at that round table.
Right. Right.
And so I mean it's good for Dan's game, although it does seem like people are suspicious of Dan. But I think a war is about to be waged in this episode 5. I think we're
A
building
hundred
up to
percent.
this. Phaedra says, Parvati, no one likes you. Play
Yeah.
fair. They're setting the stage. Something is going to happen in this. I think that the gamers are going to, I mean, Parvati and Dan are going to try to throw Phaedra under the bus here.
Yeah.
Similarly, I think Dan's going to do the same thing. He's going to tell Parvati to put the name out there. He's not going to do it himself. And then I
Yeah.
think he's going to have these two butting heads. Maybe Phaedra exposes something. It's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to
Yeah,
see
but
it.
you know what? I think Phaedra's still gonna come off smelling like a rose, and I think that what's her name? MJ. What's her name?
MJ,
MJ. Yeah, because now they really think she's a traitor because she didn't get
they,
murdered,
oh, MJ, yeah.
and they all
Yeah.
thought she was. Remember, they put all the roses in her coffin, so she's in that housewives clique, even though she's not a housewife. So she's gonna be the one because Parvati's gonna say, you know what? You're right. Maybe it's not one of the housewives, but it's somebody just with you. It's definitely MJ. I bet that's how it's gonna play out.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go in a different direction. I think that Dan is going to try to get Parvati to throw Phaedra's name out there, make the move before
I can
Phaedra can make the move on them. I
I
think the
can see that.
gamers are, yeah, I think the gamers control the numbers right now. So I think Dan has that power right now, and then it'd be interesting if they can get Phaedra banished. Do they bring on another gamer as a traitor potentially?
So furthermore, I think Phaedra is going to be out of the hot
Are you
seat.
holding a wrench? What is that?
It's a pen. It's my pen. It's my decorative pen that has like a fake diamond on top of it. It's cute on my desk. Just thin. But I've been taking notes while we're talking.
Yeah.
So I think they deep down do know because there's already been a couple suspicious things on Dan. I think, yes, it looks like from the editing that Phaedra's in the hot seat because of Parvati, but I think she's not going to be in the hot seat. I think they are going to get rid of the traitor eventually. It's probably going to be Dan. And then I think they are, well, wait, it showed on Instagram, Kate comes
Mm.
on the show.
Yeah, we have to talk about that before we go. Big announcement. They previewed this in the this season on the Traitors.
Yeah,
They said
from the very
there's a
beginning.
mystery
Yeah,
contestant. They announced it on it's really I'm honestly surprised because like we said, we're taping this before episode 4 has even aired. Kate does not
right.
show up in episode 4, so
No,
I imagine some people had their hopes up that they're going to see Kate in this episode. I'm surprised they made that announcement when they did.
me
Maybe they
too.
just wanted to get Kate to be able to promote the show because she's got a huge following and get
Right,
people in on the show early.
right.
I think that's it. Um, what do you think about that? Kate coming back?
Kate hated the Traitors. She hated being there. She never wanted to step foot in that castle again. She tried to quit. She begged us to vote her off. Like, we couldn't get rid of Kate if we tried. And now she comes back for season 2. Kate's full of shit. She likes being on TV and she's excited to be back. And I ended up, after Kate being a shitty faithful because she wasn't a traitor and loathing her as a fellow faithful, I ended up loving Kate. So I'm excited because she's good TV. So I'm excited to see her back. But I think they get a traitor. And I think there's 2 traitors left. And I think they then recruit another traitor. And I think that's how it's going to go. And the traitors are going to have the leg up the whole time.
I think that
I think they're going to get
the
Dan eventually, just like we got Cody eventually, because there's already suspicion on him. And they're
the
not showing it
Kate
now in the edit because they don't want to, that's what I think.
the Kate factor is super interesting because obviously that also shakes up the numbers too. In terms of she's gonna go with the housewife side for certain. I can't
Yeah,
imagine why she would be with the reality cop people.
unless she has a connection with any of them that we don't know about, which she probably does. And Kate knows everybody.
Yeah,
It's just interesting because this is pretty early in the show. Kate is a baby. Like she's not a baby. She's not married, and she loves that baby. She's like obsessed with that baby. So that's hard to do. Leave a baby, and people do it. But she's gonna shake things up. Phaedra and Parvati are gonna hate each other forever. And
do you think Kate comes in this next episode? It's got to be right. I mean, you can't make that announcement and then wait like
she's
3 weeks for Kate to
and
show up.
and Doctor, whoever the doctor guy is, who's he? He's
Doctor
from Big.
Will from Big Brother. Yeah.
Okay, he's coming on too as something. But Kate comes on actually as a contestant, I think.
Yes,
So I don't know
that's
what the
correct.
doctor guy comes. So she's gonna shake things up. She's just sitting at the round table like, who do we hate? I'm like, oh my god, this is so Kate. Tell me
Kate
everything.
didn't Kate? Don't you think Kate started to? I think on your season, at first she was like, "I don't want to be here. Vote me out. Can't quit,
Right,
otherwise I don't get paid." But then
right.
towards the end, she started to play a little bit when she saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
She first started out like that. I can't quit. I won't get paid. Then she kind of was a little bit like Deontay. I think she had a little bit of a mental thing, where she seriously needed to gather herself and regroup because all her people started going. The Bravos started going, and then she started playing. And I'm like, oh, now you want to play? So I think it was a little bit like this for Kate. But Kate makes good TV. Kate's very smart and she knows how to play. She knows how to play the game. Like she's not a gamer, but she knows how to play the game. She's no fool. So I
All
think Kate
right.
will do very well.
Is there anything else on episode 4 or thoughts ahead to episode 5 before we go for now?
No, it ends where, Phaedra basically tells them off in the what's it called? A turbule? I don't even know what it's called. I never got to see that part of the castle.
Well, think about how tired do they have to be? Like that's got to be an extra 2 hours of filming and
That's why I always thought Kate was a traitor because she would come in the morning looking just exhausted. Like half the time she didn't even have her makeup fully on. She brought it with her, and at some point during the day, she would like start putting it on. And Suri messed me up a little bit because she always came in looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's a traitor, but damn, she looks good because like she never looked tired. Kate was taking naps over on the bay window at the castle, looking out to the fields. Christian looked a little like stressed out, and then Cody started getting like some circles under his eyes. Like Cody was just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. He would say sometimes, and he would say things that like were obvious that he was wearing on him. But Kate, yeah, Kate looked. They we were done at like midnight sometimes 12:30. And I didn't go to bed till like 2 or 3 by the time I could shut my brain off, shower from the day. And our call time was 7 a.m., hair and makeup done, and dressed and ready to go. So those traders are not going to bed until 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 4. Like they're on minimal sleep. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, they do. They've got to be exhausted.
I mean, were you or any of the faithfuls getting the bags under your eyes in terms of fatigue, or was it just noticeable, like even more noticeable with some of the traders?
It was more noticeable in Cody because he's a boy and he has more makeup, and
Yeah,
he wears his heart on his sleeve,
yeah.
and I do too, and that's why Snake Over Us was hard for me. So that's how I was able. But the girls, it was hard because we can wear makeup, and I don't
Like
know. I
Sari
guess it
just always
depends.
looks great. Like Sari doesn't look like she looks like younger than when she first played Survivor
Oh, I know.
somehow.
I tell her she doesn't age. I'm like, I don't even know. I think you're getting better looking. The freak is she doing, Sari? Yeah, no, it didn't wear on Sari one bit. And even in the Big Brother house, I watched her, and it looked like it was wearing on her a little bit. But it's another show where it's 24/7 of filming. You're never not on camera. Like that's a lot, man.
Well, we got to wrap things up for now. Stephenie's a mom. She's got places to be, kids to
I
drive,
do.
sports to have
Uh,
watched.
my day is just beginning now, which is why I'm in my sweats. You're lucky I even have my hair washed and some makeup on because usually I got to make dinner now and the day begins at 3 o'clock. Actually, one of my kids already called from school. I don't even know. Hopefully they were able to get in touch with my husband. Someone probably forgot their shoes for like the basketball game or whatever is going on right now. But yes, thank you for having me. This was fun. I hope to be back. I'm going to look at my planner for
Yep.
next week. See
We
what day I
will.
can come on next week. And I'm going to keep watching episode 4.
Yeah.
Well, we already saw that, but we get episode 5 this week, right? Screener?
Yeah.
Because we're
Yeah.
special now.
Hey, you do like being on the media side now, Steph?
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
It's
Yes. I
fun.
like it a
Okay.
lot. It is fun.
We'll talk more about it next week. All right. So she is Stephenie LaGrossa Kendrick. I'm Jack
Thank
Vita.
you.
Stephenie, social media handles.
Steph _ LaGrossa _ Kendrick. That's my Instagram. You can find everything else out from there. If you want to follow me, follow me.
Perfect. We'll be back next week for more coverage of the Traitors. All right, y'all. That's our episode for today. Stephenie had to run, like we talked about. She's got kids to look out for. She's a mom. She's busy. But so I let her run. I'll wrap things up here. If you guys liked this episode of Jack Vita Show, we'll have more Traitors coverage throughout the season. So please hit subscribe. We've also got some interviews with reality TV contestants on this channel and podcast as well. So if you're a Big Brother fan, Survivor fan, Amazing Race, Challenge, you can go check out some of the interviews we've done. Like we mentioned, Janelle has been on this show. We've got a bunch of interviews from last season, including Michael and Amanda and Bam, some of the faithfuls on last season. So make sure you hit subscribe. And for all you sports fans, we'll be having a lot of baseball content over the next month. Hopefully a lot of interviews with players. I just did an interview with Anthony Rendon, the elusive private guy who the Los Angeles Angels third baseman does not talk to the media very much. He opened up for an hour on this show. We've got some other ones. DJ Hers, the Washington Nationals prospect, Gabriel Rincones Jr., Phillies prospect, and probably plenty more leading us up through spring training. So getting a lot of those interviews in here in January before spring training and everything ramps up, gets really busy. Then we'll be doing some baseball preview stuff in February and March, maybe some March Madness stuff. So make sure you guys are all subscribed to the Jack Vita Show. You can subscribe here on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Follow me at Jack Vita Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Stephenie and I will be back next week. And starting next week, we hope to have these episodes out every single Friday. Until then, I'm Jack Vita, bringing the dancing lobsters.